Good morning, welcome to the garden. Today I'm going to talk about a raised bed planter. It's technically a raised bed, but it is on concrete, so it's technically a planter, completely dedicated to the pollinators. I love to mix food crops with flower crops and everything, but this time I was like, I'm just going to do a whole container all for the pollinators, all flowers, just fun, decorative. I got this beautiful 2x2. It's almost a circle. It's kind of like a rounded edge square, I guess, but 2x2 raised bed. And I just filled it with beautiful things that I know the pollinators are going to love. Being that this is my first year growing in this garden space, I knew that bringing in the pollinators with some things was going to be really important. I just want to give them flowers that are going to actually encourage them to come into the garden. So I put this whole container together, and let me show you everything that we've got in here. There was a little bit of a thought process for how I actually laid out where all the plants went in the container as well. So we had a ton of rain, and I'm gonna go ahead and put in a little bit of video of me actually putting the garden bed together. I knew I wanted to get all of the plants put into the ground before we got this nice big rainstorm, because I knew it just would be so good for the plants to have all that rainwater. So I went ahead and planted it without doing any talking or anything, and I'll just put the clips in here. But basically I am going for the back of the bed being toward the trough planters. So I put all of my tallest plants toward the back of the bed. That's the sunflower, there's an amaranth. I'll get into all the details of the specific varieties, but I just wanted to pop those toward the back. The sunflower was really ready to get into the ground. It was like growing through the container into the ground. And then I went around on the front and kind of put the shorter things. So I'll talk more about these varieties, but I wanted to put the things that were going to kind of spill out, like the Kufia, and the sort of shorter things toward the front, more toward where we have like our patio seating and where the girls play and everything. That way we can see those shorter things. I didn't really put a centerpiece in the middle of this container. We are going to be looking at the container from all directions. We'll be able to see it from all the way around, but I just felt like these are all pretty big plants, so I didn't want to put like anything huge in the center that was just going to fill up the entire center. I thought if I put them all kind of around the outside, then they can grow in and amongst each other, and they can also grow out over the edges of the container. But yeah, there's not going to be hopefully something that just like takes over the container and like chokes everything out, because a couple of these are kind of bigger and more vigorous plants and just bigger growth habits than others. So I'm trying to just get everything to balance. So as you can see, nothing in here, but everything's going to kind of grow around. So let's start with, let's start right here with the Kufia. So if you want to get hummingbirds into your garden, Kufia is an incredible plant for it. They just love Kufia. So I've seen a few hummingbirds. Like I've seen them kind of going past toward my neighbor's gardens, and I'm like, how can I get them into my garden? And I feel like Kufia is the way to go. So this is a Vermillionaire Kufia. I've had really good luck with this Kufia. It's just like a really well growing. You can see how beautiful and healthy this plant is. It's just super vigorous. It does really well. It's going to be about like 18 to 28 inches, kind of tall and wide-ish. It sort of grows out. So my plant, I'm putting it here in the corner, and again, this is how we're going to be looking at the bed most of the time, kind of from this front area. So I feel like it'll just kind of grow out over the side. It'll fill in a little bit, which will be kind of nice. It'll kind of go through and fill in a little bit, and it just has these beautiful little flowers. And this is what the hummingbirds come for. They absolutely adore it. You've probably heard lots of people talk about it. I mean, it's just kind of a classic plant, but it's a real beautiful annual, and really great for hanging baskets too, because it does have that kind of like spread out habit. So I put kind of these smaller, less tall, less intense plants in the front here. This will kind of grow in and around. And then I paired it right next to the beautiful pin cushion flower. So I did talk a little bit more about this in my perennials in containers video, but this is the Flutter Deep Blue Pincushion flower. Gorgeous, gorgeous, long blooming perennial, wants full sun, just like the Kufia. It's gonna go to be about 12 to 14 inches tall, 12 to 14 inches wide. So it's gonna fill out this area right here. I can always kind of adjust the Kufia if I feel like it's getting, you know, in the way, but look at all the buds on this plant. So many flower buds on this plant, and I know the bees are gonna be really into it. Bees love like, I don't know, this kind of shaped flower, and every time I've seen pincushion flowers, they have been covered with pollinators, that beautiful blue. We're gonna get a lot of pollinators on these plants. I'm excited to see as they start to find that we've got a garden here. So yeah, this will kind of fill up this area, and then next to it, I mean, I thought this color combination for one was so stunning, and this is another bees love, as well as the hummingbirds too. It's, oh my gosh, I'm not finding my plant tag for this one. It's an Agastache. It is I believe it's the mango tango. I've had a few of these in my garden last year. They are such a long blooming perennial, so technically it will come back, and believe it's usually, I think it's like zone, I'm just trying, like 6 or 7 to maybe 9 or 10. Again, I can't find my plant tag. The pincushion flower here is a zone 5 through 9, so pretty hardy. I guess not technically maybe a perennial in our zone 10 here. But the Agastache is just such a long blooming, like these and catmints, they just bloom and bloom and bloom, and it's such a pretty color. So we are mixing some annuals with perennials in this container, but I just thought they had a little bit of like a wildflower meadow kind of look, which I really loved, especially for a pollinator garden. I don't obviously have room in this garden to grow like a big perennial wildflower garden. I can't really create like a meadow garden, but I do feel like adding a couple of plants like this, it sort of gives that like meadow look, which was kind of what I was going for in this garden bed, was just a little bit of that whimsical meadow garden style. So I put in those 3 in the front, and then I put 3 plants in the back. This one here I'm so excited about. Always gotta love. This is a Sunfinity sunflower. So this is going to be a big multi-headed branching sunflower. It's going to be about 32 inches tall, 24 to 32 inches wide. So it's going to have to spill out over the side of the container a little bit, but oh my gosh, it's gonna be so gorgeous, nice and heat tolerant, so it should be able to handle this gardening space. All of these are great container plants, can tolerate some of the heat and sun, because we are in a very full sun area, so obviously for a sunflower that's going to be good. You can already see it starting to branch, and sunflowers just are bee magnets. I like the nice and tall plant because it does bring in like passing pollinators. I find that especially if you have a new garden, you want to kind of like put up some big signs like, hey, come here. And bees love sunflowers, absolutely adore sunflowers. So that's going to be great. And it'll be covered in all these just classic cute little sunflowers, nice branching, fill everything in. Then this was kind of like this was, if you saw my shopping video, this was an impulse buy, but this is the amaranth. It's the Autumn Torch Amaranth. Another, I feel like pollinators, yeah, pollinator friendly, right? Amaranth is just one of those that draws everything in, and it is taller. It's going to be up to 6 feet tall, so this could be huge, and that's why I kind of put it in this back little like the back corner, so it can just get nice and big. It's not going to interfere with anything. It can be tall, crazy, grow off the side. I probably will have to stake it. Being that it's 6 feet tall and there's not really anything around it, it's not supported by a bunch of other plants, I'm definitely gonna want to stake that. But that's going to be gorgeous, and kind of like those whitish blooms. I think it'll be really pretty. And then next to it, I stuck in this ruby slipper coleus, which it's kind of hiding under the plants because I'm letting it get a little bit of shade. But it is a coleus that can handle full sun to shade. So some coleus you kind of have to check, because some totally just want they want shade, but they're making a lot of more coleus now that will handle sun and want to get some sun. So I'm kind of letting it adjust, but then I think it's going to be really beautiful. And I could let it flower and it actually would attract a lot of pollinators, but I also just wanted to put it in here to break up the colors a little bit, because as you can see, we just have so much green in this bed. So we need to have, you know, some kind of texture and variation in color. So I went ahead and put it in here just to add a little bit of foliage difference. It'll kind of, you know, meld with the other plants. And I thought it looked pretty next to the amaranth too. Kind of these lighter leaves next to that deep red. It'll be interesting to see, given how much sun you give the coleus, it does sort of adjust the color. So when they're in the shade, sometimes they tend to be like the hints of green might come out more. In the sun, they can be like the deeper red colors. So we'll see. It'll be interesting, but it's adjusting to being in very full sun pretty well. But for now, I'm just letting the cufia kind of grow over it so it can just get situated in a very sunny area, because it was under shade cloth at the garden center. So that is the pollinator raised bed. Pretty jam-packed with plants, but they're all just, as I said, they're just gonna grow. I didn't put anything in the middle, so they can all just take off and do their thing and grow all over and out the side. And then I'll just kind of stake things and trim things as we need to. But I think it's gonna be so pretty. It's already added so much to have this in the garden and to have these 3 in the front blooming. But once the back 3 plants start really taking off and filling in, like, this is going to be one to watch as we get later into the season, because I think it's going to be really stunning. I do have a couple of the perennials in here, but I am still going to keep it on my normal fertilizer schedule, because it is, you know, it's a limited size soil reservoir. This is 17 inches tall, so a decent amount of space for these plants. But I know like the amaranth and the sunflower are really going to take up a lot of that. So I'm going to keep it on a fertilizer schedule, kind of just like I do all my annuals, and we're just going to let it grow up like that. And I think it'll be really beautiful. And I'm really excited to have it growing now. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.